What's up, you guys? It's Frank the Tank, and welcome to week number 23 of this Winter League. So, this is going to be an interesting one for a couple reasons. One of those being that last week, actually, I did mention that I was going to be making a couple surface changes to a couple of my bowling balls because I started noticing that a lot of my stuff was not grabbing at the lane, and I realized that, like, some of these bowling balls that I'm using need teeth. It needs more surface. One of them was the phase 2 not grabbing at the lane where I wanted it to. It just kept gliding down the lane and it hardly wanted to turn. The same thing with my nuclear cell some time ago. I don't think it was last week. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I noticed that the ball, it did turn the corner, but it lost that kick to it that it normally has. It turns, and then right after it turns, it kicks. So yeah, I thought either the ball was dying or it just needed a surface change, because I know it didn't need it to be tossed in the oven and baked and have to have the oil removed, because I did have it tossed in the oven a couple months ago, and I haven't played a ton of games on the ball, so I knew it just probably needed a surface change. So that, along with the phase 2 and a couple other bowling balls that I knew I wasn't going to be taking to league because I haven't fully figured out how to use them yet. Like, I haven't figured out a path or anything like that. But one thing's for sure is the phase 2 and the nuclear cell were definitely in need of some surface changes. So I took the phase 2 and the nuclear cell to practice, and had the nuclear cell changed from 4,000, because that is what my PSO told me that he put it on after he took it out of the oven. He took it. He took it and he put it to 4,000. 4,000 what? I don't know. He just said 4,000. And then I asked him to take it down to 3,000. And then the phase 2, which its original box finish was 3,000 grit Abralon, I had him take it down to 2,000. And I tried him out and worked like a charm. It's all it needed. So I told myself, definitely taking these to league. And despite this, I still felt like I was walking into this week of league without a game plan, even though I did have one trick at my disposal, and that one trick being that thing that I told you guys about the ability to be able to watch ball motion a lot better. But, you know, despite having that at my disposal, I still felt like I was walking in unprepared or with no game plan, and because of that, I felt kind of worried. I felt nervous that I wasn't going to be able to bowl good. And then, if that's not enough, I found out before, prior to the start, that none of my teammates were showing up because they were all sick. So I literally was going to be tackling this head on by myself against an onslaught of a full 4-person team. So yeah, for the first time ever, I knew it had to happen eventually. I just didn't know when, but it happened on this night. For the first time ever, I was going in on a 1v4 situation. And if that wasn't enough, just to add more salt to the wound, I did mention in last week's video that I was going up against a certain someone that I gave a shout out to. His name is Luis Camario. He shot an incredible 771 series, yeah, I said that we were going to be coming up against him this week, and he I knew for sure that I was going to have to fire on all cylinders, because he was on a run, and I didn't know whether he was going to be shooting another high series this week, or if, his momentum was, not going to be there and he was just going to fall apart. I didn't know, but one thing's for sure is I had to fire on all cylinders regardless. So, yeah, I guess the big question in the end is, how do I fare after all of this? We're going to find out right now. Let's roll the clip. Okay, you guys, here we go for week number 23. Now, before I actually get the clip up and rolling, I feel the need to explain what happened in the 10 minutes of practice. So first things first, I whipped out the phase 2 as I felt I really wanted to test out ball on these lanes just to see how it would do, and I sucked with it. I really did. I couldn't execute. I kept going to missing to the right, missing to the left. I couldn't find the proper line, so I just put it back in the bag. And then I tried the Zen Master, and I couldn't get anything with that either. Nothing clicked. And I never picked up the pitch black because that ball for me personally is like for emergencies, you know, like when all else fails, then I'll whip out the pitch black. And that ball automatically gives me like 100% confidence. Like I know that ball front to back. I know what where I need to line up and what I need to do with it. It makes things a lot easier, you know, like when I need to string strikes together, I know I can always count on that ball. So because of that, I didn't feel the need to even pick it up in the 10 minutes of practice. And then also the Fate, I actually never really got to it because I tried out the nuclear cell before I could try out the Fate. And I just threw one shot with that ball on the right lane and instantly it clicked. And I was like, okay, there we go. That's what we're going to do. So I began the night on the left lane with the nuclear cell, and it was back to normal. It was back to what I wanted to see. It grabbed at the lane early, probably just a pinch earlier than I expected, but hey, I like it because it became a lot easier to read that ball motion, especially the length on it and how it turned the corner. And the kick was kind of back, so that kick that it gets right after it turns the corner, it was back. So I picked up the nuclear cell and I started with that, lined up on board 22, threw it kind of slow, but I got a good shot out of it. So then I proceeded to go on the right lane and do the exact same thing, board number 22, and I have to admit here that I struggled to read exactly where I was putting the ball down and where it was passing over the arrows, but the only thing I was really trying to pay attention to was where I got the ball at the break point down lane and how it was entering the pins, and from that one I could tell I got it left. And where it hit when it got the pins, that was an indicator of that. So yeah, it kind of worried me that I wasn't paying attention too much to that. But you know, the fact that I could see what was happening when it got down to the break point, it was kind of enough for me in that moment. So here we go for frame number 3, off to a pretty decent start, striking a 7 spare to begin. Pretty good, not bad. Great shot, nice 10 back. So surprisingly on this night, I was actually worried about my form too, because I actually had a pretty terrible practice in the days leading up to this, because I had no clue that the kids were out of school. I don't know why, for what reason. I don't know if it was some kind of a holiday, but for me, it personally, like, I find it odd that school would be out on a Wednesday, because that's when I went to practice. Usually when school is out, they allow the kids out of school on Mondays, as far as I can see. But yeah, all the kids were out of school on Wednesday, and of course the place got flooded with kids on Wednesday, so I couldn't practice in peace. And yeah, my form was pretty awful. I wasn't you know, able to execute properly. I wasn't able to practice the things that I wanted to practice, and yeah, overall I just had a terrible practice. So I was very worried about how my form was going to be on this night. But surprisingly, the only thing that I did was keep my footwork, like I kept my steps close together like I've been trying to, and that helped me keep my form pretty good on this night. It was a lot better than I expected it, to be honest. So here we go on the 4th frame, I believe, and the ball slipped from my hand right there, so I couldn't get a proper release on that one. Got around the corner, but just enough to hit really, really light, and I believe now that's the 4-pin. Correction, that is actually the 2-pin. So yeah, keeping my steps close together, which is something I always try to do. Sometimes I forget and I resort back to my old habits of keeping my steps further apart, which really messes with my form in the end. Yeah, I tried to remember to keep my steps closer together, and it allowed me a lot of room to for my very last step, which is the slide. So I could really, you know, finish at the foul line properly. So here we go for frame number 5, and this one led me to being quite unsure about this, about carrying on with this ball. So right there, I think what happened was I actually got it left of my target, like slightly. I mean, everything about it was good. The path seemed good from what I was seeing, right? When it was traveling down the lane. But see that right there? Technically, that was on top of the 8 and the 7, 8, 9 area. And technically, in order for the ball to be able to make it to the pocket properly and not go high or anything like that, it needs to be like on the 4 board or the 5 board. And I got it on the 7, 8, 9 board. You see this really dark board right here? That's 7 and 8. 9 is right there, obviously, right next to the 10. So this is technically 7 and 8, and I got it on top of 7 and 8. I didn't know that because it all happened so fast for me, but the speed was definitely slow. When I looked up at the monitor, I could see that the speed was a little slower, so that definitely contributed to this result in the end, which is the big 4. And you know me, always trying to go for it, which was kind of unnecessary, but I did it anyway, and I lost count in the end. So clean through 4 frames and then a split in the 5th. That one shot on the left lane led me to being unsure about carrying on with the nuclear cell, so I decided let's try this phase 2 and just see what happens. I mean, I know I couldn't, get it together in the 10 minutes of practice with this phase 2, but I just felt like I needed to try it because the phase 2, even though it's early because it's solid, and now that it's on 2,000, up from 3,000, of course. Now that it has more surface on it, it's obviously going to grab at the lane a lot earlier, but it's not going to be nearly as aggressive as the nuclear cell. So I thought maybe this would be the smart play. So I went for it. I lined up on board 22, sliding God knows where, and I saw that, and I thought, even though it went high, this looks like something that I'm looking for because it made it to the pocket. It didn't go right through the nose. It didn't die out and go to the 3-6, so I thought this is my ball from now on. So again, wanting to keep it clean, not trusting myself. I got to practice my spares, honestly. This hooking at my spares, there's nothing wrong with that, but, just for me personally, it just kind of adds to the fact that, my spare game is not good at the moment, and it needs to be, I need to improve on it. I need to practice it. So now I think we're on the 7th frame. This time I went to board 22.5 after going high on the right lane. Threw it way right at my target. Got a light hit, and actually, with this shot, I actually went past my break point. See, technically, I should have gotten it and the way I entered the break point, too, it was kind of not right. I went this way when I should have gone more like that, if you know what I mean. I went way like that, and then my break point target is a little bit more back right here, and I went past it, so it kind of makes sense as to why the ball hooked late, went light, but I got very lucky, and I got all 10 down. Alright, so in this next shot right here, 8th frame I believe, shot looked great to me, but left a ringing 10, and there is an obvious reason as to why that happened. It wasn't that I got unlucky, so unfortunately I couldn't really figure out as to why I left that ringing 10, but it happened, and I had to clean it up. No complaining whatsoever, just clean it up and move it along. Alright, so after that light hit on the left lane where I went past my breakpoint target, the ball hooked late and I hit light, that was one. Number 2 was the fact that I made a better shot on the right lane. I got on my target, hit the pocket really good, and I left a ringing 10. That became an indicator for me that I need to be more to the right, so I moved to 22 after being on 22.5, and then that happened because, again, I missed my breakpoint target. I went past it. Ball came around the corner late, and I end up hitting light, and this time I leave the 2-8. But one thing's for sure, I like what I'm seeing out of this phase 2. It's grabbing at the lane when I want it to, it's turning the corner, it's not totally dead in the water. Everything was good. I just needed to find that path. Alright, so I think we're on the 10th frame now. Again, I moved to 22 after being on 22.5 on this right lane. Fell off balance, but a great shot in the end, and I thought, okay, we got something here. So it was actually that first shot right there where everything clicked for me. It was there that I started to notice exactly where the ball passed over the arrows. I mean, I didn't pay attention to my laydown area, but the fact that I knew exactly where the ball passed over the arrows, that was good enough for me because that would help me get my ball to the break point properly. That was definitely going to make it easier for me to get it there. And I noticed that it kind of passed like literally right next to the arrow. So I thought, okay, 13 at the arrows. That's exactly where I need to get the ball. And that would lead it to get over here properly at the break point and to enter the break point properly. And I knew it was going. If I could do that, the shot was good. So that made me feel a whole hell of a lot better for game 2 because I knew exactly now where I had to put the ball. You see that? That right there was the second. That one right there was what made it 100% for me. I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna smash it in game 2. So yeah, I have to admit, this entire first game, I went in kind of blank, not paying attention to watching the ball motion. It was here in the 10th frame where everything clicked for me. It was where I started noticing more. Again, I didn't pay attention to the laydown point as I felt I didn't need to because all I needed was to know exactly where the ball was passing over at the arrows, and it was good enough for me. All right, so after finishing game 1 with a 189, kind of a slow start, I'd say not bad. I only lost game 1 by 21 pins. I say not bad because, again, remember, I'm riding solo, 1 versus 4. And, of course, they've got the ever-so-crazy Luis Camario on their team, who's been beasting these past couple weeks. I felt good going into game 2, though. After what I'd noticed in the 10th frame of game 1, everything clicked. So yeah, form was looking fantastic. Tried my best to execute the best shot I could on the path that I wanted, and that path being trying to get it on 13 at the arrows, and then of course about 4 at the break point, about right here. I told myself that just do that, don't overwhelm yourself, keep it simple, do that, and you should be just fine. And I have to admit, another thing that made it a lot better was the fact that my form at the foul line was actually some of the best that it's ever been in quite some time. So here I went on the left lane. Pretty good. Hit light, and actually take a look at the head pin. Take a look at the head pin, at what it did right there in that shot. This was quite lucky. Came off the left wall, took out that 7 pin. Okay, so don't make fun of me for this, but I actually felt like a perfect game may be on the cards here because I knew exactly what I needed to do from top to bottom. I knew exactly where to put the ball down. I had that thought of getting it at 13 at the arrows. I was executing it. I felt like I could actually do this. So here we go for the 3rd frame, I think. Pretty good form at the foul line. Another strike. We got 3 in a row. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but I actually felt like I could do it. I felt like I had total control. So I went on the left lane here. Identical. Fantastic. All 10 down. But unfortunately for me, the one thing that I just could not beat was the nerves, getting shaky. I started thinking a little too hard right here about that shot that I wanted to execute, and got it left all the way down, went through the nose, and I left the 3-6. Strike streak is over. And if that's not enough, I did this. Chopped. Took out the 6 but couldn't get the 3. So how about that, huh? Nobody expected that to happen. Gary Gardner Jr., shout out to him for shooting 300. I don't know what he got at the end of the night because I didn't stick around for the end of it. But would you believe that while here we are halfway through game 2, they were still on game number 1. So he shot 300 in game number 1, And again, yeah, I don't know what happened for game 2 and 3, but I imagine he probably got like a 700 series for sure. I'm going to have to wait for the results just to see, and I'll probably tell you guys about it on week number 24. But for now, congratulations goes out to Gary Gardner Jr. for shooting 300. And would you believe, after 23 weeks, that is the first and only 300 of this entire thing. No one else has done it. Kind of goes to show you how difficult it is out here. Bad form at the foul line, but oh, get out of here, 9-pin. So going into this next frame, I definitely did not let that open frame get to me, especially after that really good strike in the left lane. Messenger took out the 9, and with that opening ham bone in game 2, I definitely felt like I had a huge jump ahead to making something decent out of this. Especially after going back-to-back strikes. That's how you come back from an open frame right there. I just kept thinking to myself, I kept it simple. 13 at the arrows, 4 at the breakpoint down lane. You know what you have to do. Don't think about nothing else. Just keep doing that. I tell you, there's a reason why the Phase 2 is one of the greatest storm balls ever made. I mean, just look at it. Do I even need to explain it? So after a ham bone, an open, and 3 in a row to recover from that open, I was relieved. I felt like weight off my shoulders because I passed 200. It's all I needed. Now, unfortunately for that one, I did get it slightly left and I paid for it, and another 3-6 is what I have to deal with. And I couldn't believe it. I messed up on the 3-6 once, and I went ahead and did it again. I didn't chop on the 6, I chopped on the 3 this time. Luckily for me, I had already passed over 200, so I wasn't too angry about it, but it was a little annoying that I had done that to myself. But I tell you, I just kept doing what I was doing, kept thinking about getting it at 13 at the arrows, and aiming for my breakpoint target, which is like right here. Everything was turning out great. So if you want to get a little more precise about it, technically that first shot in the 10th, I got it right over third arrow, but you know, it still was a good shot either way. I guess you could say I had some miss room, and with that shot being a little bit better, form was a little funny looking, but still, you know, I didn't fall off at the foul line like I usually do a lot of times. So I had 2 in the 10th, and definitely made something good out of this second game. And I'll have you know that I managed to win this game on my own, well, using the handicap as well, you know, the averages from my teammates combined. I managed to win this one by 73 pins, so pretty good. Not too bad for riding solo. So we were tied 1-1. And I messed up that one, but I didn't care because I put in a decent 200 game here. And I took game 2. So here we go for game number 3. I went in with the same game plan. I felt very, very good about my game plan in game 2 that I didn't feel the need to change it for game number 3. And this is indeed a very, very good night for me because form was great. I didn't, you know, struggle. I didn't, you know, go through every single bowling ball I had just trying to find something. I started with the nuclear cell and then I changed to this phase 2, and that was that. Not a lot of adjustments were made. See that? Game plan is still going on strong. Definitely didn't have to resort to using the urethane ball. So, yeah, this is definitely a very, very good night for me. Probably one of the best in a long time. Alright, so on this shot, the second frame, I believe, unfortunately I got it slightly left, and I ended up paying for it, but not too much. I luckily fought off a split there. So again, wanting to play it safe, chose to hook at it, especially because I didn't want to lose this one. Great form, playing it on the line. Great strike. I'll tell you, I'm really satisfied with this one, guys. Alright, so on this shot right here, I believe I got it to the right kind of early. But the form is fantastic looking. Unfortunately, I went right through the nose with that one, and I ended up with a split. So after a strike in the first, a 9 spare in the second, and another strike in the third, we split in the fourth. And I didn't even make any of the count. That's gonna hurt. But I didn't let it get to me. I kept sticking to the plan. Hold it. Booyah, that's what I'm talking about. One of the best shots of the night right there. You know you've got it down when you hold it at the foul line like that. Alright, so on this shot right here, I knew that I got it slightly left. Fell off balance there. Oh man, but I got lucky there. You could see my reaction. I'm like, ah, forget about it. Alright, so for this shot right here, I thought it was good until I watched how it turned the corner. And I noticed that it didn't fully turn the corner, if you know what I mean. You could see that it kind of like stopped slightly, and the way it hit the pocket, it deflected, and I saw the 10, and I was like, man, that was lucky. You could even see me looking up, like, very lucky that I didn't leave the 10. Fell off balance, but I got it again. Again, see that? I'm like, dude, how much more lucky can I possibly get? And the thing is that I knew I needed that one too, because it kept me within range of the other team. They chose to go hard in this last game. All of them were getting strikes and spares. They were pulling away, and I knew that I needed to keep with them. And actually, in that 8th frame, the score was 532 to 540. So, like I said, I needed that one to keep within range of them. And then in the 9th frame, tried my best to execute the shot that I wanted. Got good form at the foul line. And yeah, you see that? I was feeling it right there. I was on fire. I knew that was keeping me in it. And that actually put me ahead 600 to 556. But I knew that was going to change once they bowled their 10th frame. I just wanted to see how much work I had to do after they were done with it. So yeah, I was feeling a little bit nervous going into this one because I knew that I needed to do some work here in the 10th frame to make it not so easy for them in the 10th. Because I knew that they were going to have quite a lot. They were going to have quite a big jump in their pin count because their 3rd and 4th man had strikes going into the 10th, so they were set up pretty nicely. So I knew I was definitely going to have to do something in this 10th frame to to make it difficult for them if I wanted to take game 3. Unfortunately, once again, the nerves got to me. I was thinking a little bit too hard once again. Sent that ball too far to the right. I was lucky that it didn't gutter, and I ended up leaving the rail. To make it a little worse on myself, I didn't know how I was going to attack this. I thought, do I want to hook at it? Do I want to spare it? I don't know. And you can see me right there. Like, I was going to hook at it with the phase 2, but then I thought, let's pick up the spare ball and try to go straight at it. I honestly was lost here. I didn't know what I wanted to do with this, so I just decided the spare ball. Went for it. Couldn't take them all out, and I ended up with an open in the 10th, and I finished that one out with the 208. And unfortunately for me, it wasn't enough to win game 3. They ended up taking it from me, and Lewis ended up coming in clutch. I think he struck out in the 10th frame, so I definitely lost game 3. But I found out at the end when they displayed the scores on the monitors that somehow, some way, I managed to win the pin count. So that meant that we tied 2-2 in the end. They took game 1 and 3. I took game 2 and the pin count. All right, guys. Now let's take a look at the summary for week number 23. Game 1, we started off kind of slow with a 189, but we picked up the pieces and we got our stuff together for game number 2, and we got 229. And game 3, let's be honest, it could have been better if I didn't screw up the 10th frame the way I did, but at least we got a 208 all together for a 626 series, down from last week's series total, which was 633. And luckily, the series required to raise my average was only 612, unlike last week. I think it was much higher than that. But the pin total after week 23 is 13,952 after 69 games played, which means I am now a 202 average after being 201 last week. So this is good. We're continuing to rise here. And I'm feeling pretty good about week 24. And I think I definitely want to continue to lead on to week 24 with this phase 2 because it was absolutely fantastic. There's a reason why everybody voted this ball being the GOAT out of all the storm bowling balls that have been made. So yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna go into this one with the phase two again. I mean, if it ain't broke, why fix it, right? So yeah, definitely gonna do that again, and hope that I can pick up another decent series for week number 24. But for right now, we'll take this one in, and I'm Frank the Tank, and I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Probably one of the best, at least, even though the series wasn't like any higher than 626, it's still pretty good. Anything over 600 is always a win for me. So, but still, in terms of like execution and form, I really liked what I was seeing. I'm very happy about that. So that is definitely like an A plus for me. So anyway, I'm Frank the Tank. Hope you guys enjoyed week number 23. I can't wait for week 24 to see how we can build from what we did here. So I'll see you guys on week number 24.